Hey everybody, how you doing? I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World, and a lot of people have been deeply concerned about what happened at Spring Valley High School, where Resource Officer Ben Fields decided that the best way to deal with a female student who would not cooperate with him at the moment was to pretty much body slam her out of her chair and drag her across the floor. A lot of you seen this video already. I don't need to tell you what happened, but I do want to tell you who I'm going to talk to about this, and I think he has an opinion that's worth listening to. Uh, Mr. Ben Dixon is on the line. Ben is the host of the Benjamin Dixon Show. And first, I want to ask Ben, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing great, Dr. Watkins. Thanks so much for having me.
I'm glad to see you, man. I'm glad to see you now. Now, people, I think for the majority of us, have found just what happened to be atrocious. They feel that the
Right.
officer should not just be fired. A lot of people feel that charges should be pressed,
hmm
and I'm one of those people. And it almost seems like the conversation has kind of evolved though and turned a little bit toward Don Lemon.
mm
In CNN and some of the remarks that he made about the incident. First thing, before we get to Don, I want to ask you, what do you think should happen to Ben Fields?
it, it depends on what level we're taking it, right? At the very beginning level, he should be fired. This is it's unacceptable. He went from 0 to 100 without even taking a breath good. He used a level of force that he was not met with. I have some police officer friends that I discuss things with, and they generally give this tier system that if they're being met with a certain level of force, then the police officer is then authorized to go one step above to match the level of force that they've been met with, or to supersede the level of force that they've been met with. This child did not bring any amount of force to this officer. She was, if you want to call it, peacefully resisting. She was just refusing to leave. Maybe she was disrespectful. Whatever the case may be, she did not bring any level of force to that officer whatsoever. So he was completely out of line. I don't care what happened before the video. I don't care what happened after the video. In that video, when he comes into the scene, she did not hit him, touch him, throw anything. There was no reason. So to that end, he should be fired. He should, at a minimum, be fired. I don't even know why he's not fired at this point.
Well, it almost seems that um, when we talk about him being fired, I wonder why people aren't saying that he should be prosecuted. I
hmm
mean, for assaulting a minor. I mean, just because you have that uniform on, that actually the uniform gives you a greater responsibility to be careful with how you use your authority. And
hmm
so for him to just attack this girl the way he did, it almost, I mean, I would almost argue that charges should be pressed. What do you think?
I think in a normal, sane world, charges should be pressed. But there's so many. This is the problem. There's so many laws and regulations and contracts and protections that police officers get that prosecuting one is almost unfathomable, right? It's almost like so many hurdles that you have to overcome just to prosecute a police officer for something that if a citizen did it, a regular citizen did it, would be no question. Matter of fact, if a parent went into the classroom and did the same exact thing that that officer did, that parent would be under arrest. But because he has a badge, there are certain protections that he's afforded that we're not. So, why is he not under arrest? Well, the system is protecting him and it's baked into the system. And I personally think that's part of the problem.
Well, I do think it is interesting when you talk about the constant battle, the ongoing battle, the 300-year battle black people have had with law enforcement in America, with the
hmm
criminal justice system. They get protections, we get
hmm
none. They have weapons, we have none. They get the benefit of the doubt, we get none. And
Right.
so it's a really an unfair fight. It's so off balance. It's ridiculous. Where you can have,
Absolutely.
and so you have so many cases where even the most corrupt, most criminal cops in the world still get the protections and the weapons and the benefit of the doubt as they terrorize
The
innocent
rest of
citizens.
us.
Those who,
Yeah.
as you mentioned, are peacefully resisting or whatever. Where they can slam you to the ground and somebody thinks it's okay because
Right.
you weren't doing what this corrupt person has told you to do. Which,
Right.
which which almost to me it just makes this whole system devoid of any sort of moral authority for the most part. Um,
Yeah.
Now, Ben, I want to ask you about this. Now, a lot of people are now talking about this thing with Don Lemon, and Don Lemon's remarks about the incident. I watched the
hmm
video. I don't know. Did you see the video with him and Sonny Hostin?
Yeah. Yeah. I saw that video. Yeah.
Okay. And in the video, Don seemed to be telling Sonny, we need more facts. We can't judge until we have more facts. We need more facts. And Sonny, she's very emotional, and I actually like Sonny Hostin. When I've been on, we've typically agreed with each other. Um, And she would just said, no, we don't need any more facts. We know we have what we need. We have everything we
Right.
need. And so as a result, people are now petitioning to have Lemon fired over this. There's a petition at
Hmm.
change.org for on this that has over 11,000 signatures. What do you think about this? And what do you think about Don's remarks and this idea of him being fired over these remarks?
So Don Lemon, where do you even start with this guy, right? So Don Lemon is the same guy. You have to put it in perspective. This is who CNN has representing a minority position, right? A minority face, not only minority in terms of he's black, but minority in terms he's gay and LGBT and all that. This is who they put up. The same guy who questioned, I don't know if you remember the flight MH370 that disappeared. He wanted to know whether or not it was a black hole that sucked up he speculated this on live air, a black hole that would suck up our entire solar system. This is newsworthy for him. And he's also the same guy that brought the llama onto his live television show. This is he's a I don't know how else to say it. He's not dealing with a full set of common sense in his head. And CNN has him there, and it's almost like a constant slap in our face. Should he be fired? He should have been fired a long time ago. Is this the icing on the cake? Yeah. So I think anyone who is tired of hearing his drivel on top of his absurdities should sign the petition, because he's just not a great representation of journalism, let alone a black representation. And I'm sure plenty of people in the LGBT community are really want to distance themselves from him as much as possible. So I don't see why CNN has him still to this day. I have no idea. But his argument, as far as wanting to see more evidence, I think we saw enough in the video to be able to tell that this officer used a level of force that was absolutely not necessary, because that child did not show him any type of physical response, physical reaction. She was silently sitting. So what else is there that needs to be seen?
Well, it is interesting. I mean, because no matter what happened before the video was shown, you're right. At that particular moment, there's nothing that you can see that says the officer had to, fight to protect himself or anything like that. So even if something occurred off camera, at that moment, there was no threat to the
There
officer.
was no threat
Right,
whatsoever.
and it's funny when you talk about Don Lemon. I still remember you mentioned some of his other antics about the whole black hole thing, which was pretty funny. And remember when he had the word nigger in
Yeah,
big letters on TV, and then he had the other
this
one
thing.
where he was talking to the Cosby accuser, the alleged rape victim, and he asked her something about why she didn't bite his penis when he made her when she made it or he made her allegedly made her give him oral sex. I mean, just and again, there's a lot to talk about with the Cosby thing, and that was kind of interesting. But still, just you don't ask someone who is an alleged rape victim. You don't say something like that, right?
Right,
Not
right.
if you're a respected anchor. And so that makes me kind of wonder, you know, what is? Do you think there's any sort of uh, way to look at this where CNN feels that they actually benefit from having Don Lemon kind of on there being the court jester? I mean, because on one hand, right, if he's trying to be, a Tom Brokaw or a Brian Williams kind of straight-laced journalist, he's
Hmm.
failing miserably, right?
Right.
He's not. He can't be taken seriously as a journalist. He's not a real journalist. He's killed his credibility. That's a given. But if he's trying to become, say, a Bill O'Reilly, a black Bill O'Reilly, which Bill O'Reilly makes tens of millions of dollars a year from Fox because he gets these ratings by
Right.
engaging in these sorts of ridiculous antics. It seems like it could be a winning strategy for them. Do you think that that's a possibility that they're telling him, look, just go out here and do what you want and just get us the ratings and we're happy? What do you think?
So, so let's use Bill O'Reilly for example. Bill O'Reilly always represents a an absurd position, in my opinion, right? But he does it from an intelligent manner, from an intelligent position. He tries his best to give a reasoned argument, and he presents well. Don Lemon is a sideshow. If they're going for let's get ratings by any means and we don't care how, then Don Lemon is their man, right? But he could not stand on stage with Bill O'Reilly for 5 minutes, right? So he's no competitor for that. I don't know why they have him there. apparently somebody's watching them, and maybe I don't want to get in trouble and compare him to other shows, but maybe it's akin to watching a Real Housewives or something. I don't know. Maybe he's drawing that audience. But in terms of people who want legitimate journalism, I just I don't see anything redeeming in his skill set as a pundit, as a commentator, as a journalist, even as a in this case as a decent human being. And especially with that other case, I didn't even know that case about the Cosby rape accuser. That's beyond the pale. So I mean, there's been plenty of reasons to sign this petition for Don to get rid of Don Lemon, and I'll be the next one to sign it.
Mm. Wow. Well, that's a lot to say, and I tell you, it does seem to me that when Don made these remarks, I bet you that there are other commentators who could have made the same comment and it
Hmm.
wouldn't have drawn this kind of outrage. It's almost like with Don, there's a context because people are thinking about all the other ridiculous things that he's
Yeah.
done. It's almost like this is the straw that breaks the camel's back, as
Right.
opposed to just because think about this. I mean, it's not out of the question for somebody to just say, let's wait
Right.
till we see all the evidence. Let's find out
Agreed.
what's going on.
Agreed.
Let's ask questions. I mean, that's why you do investigations. That's why the feds are
Right.
investigating because they need information. They need to know what happened. That's why the local police are investigating. They don't make a decision, a snap decision based solely on a video. So you could almost argue that maybe in a different context, what Don said would have been just zip past people. No one would have cared. I think it's because he said it. I really do. I
Yeah,
really
no, it
believe that.
has to be. It has to be because you're right. You're right. In all fairness, like I mean, obviously, I don't like Don Lemon, right? But in all fairness to what he said, I'm sure there are like at least 12 other commentators who are saying it. But what stood out to me the most was a tweet from Netta. I don't know her last name. I'm horrible with last names, but she's one of the Black Lives Matters activists on Twitter, and she pointed out that Martin O'Malley got it right. Chris Hayes got it right. You have all these white commentators and politicians who understand how wrong this is the very first time they see it, and then you have this black guy who gets it completely wrong and is playing I guess what is he trying to play, the straight and narrow, the journal. He's trying to be a journalist today, right? This is the wrong day for you to be a journalist because you're so wrong on it, Don Lemon. Today is a day for you to look at that as a human being, as a part of a person who has a child or a person who could have a child or whatever the case may be, and realize that that's just wrong on any normal day. So I agree with you, Dr. Watkins. We're just bringing a lot of baggage to the conversation. We've been wanting to get rid of Don Lemon. And I think there's so many valid reasons to do it, and this is just the icing on the cake.
Well, I'll say the same thing I said about Bill O'Reilly on CNN about 8 years, 7 years ago actually, and he had made some remarks about black people. And somebody said, "Well, what's wrong with what Bill O'Reilly said? It wasn't that bad." I think he said something about how he went down. I don't know if you remember this. It was a while back. He went down to Sylvia's in Harlem, and
Yeah,
he said some things about how there was nobody screaming, "Give me more iced tea, motherfucker,"
yeah,
stuff like that. And I said, well, when you analyze controversial comments, the context and the character of the commentator
means everything.
matters a great
Yeah.
deal. And so there are things that a Bill O'Reilly or a Don Lemon could say that would be interpreted very differently than if other people said them. Why? Because we're not looking at the words in a vacuum. We're looking at
Hmm.
the source of those words. It's like if you're watching a movie and the main character's mother says "I love you," that's very
Hmm.
different from the homicidal ex-boyfriend saying "I
Yeah,
love you." Right? You're gonna have a
absolutely.
different reaction because you're processing different information. Or even in China, the word "ma" can have 4 or 5 different meanings at least based on the inflection and the context, right? So, in this case, that's what I'm really seeing here. But either
Hmm.
way, I'm not a fan of Lemon. I remember calling for him to be fired 3 or 4 years ago for some things that he did. I don't like when he's called me to be on his show because every time I feel like it's an ambush. I
Oh
always
yeah.
ask the producers like, "Why does Don invite me on his show? He don't like me, I'll say I don't like him that much, but I don't think I dislike him as much as he dislikes me. I just say black folks should just turn off mainstream news and get their news from black sources on the
Alternate.
web. I
Yeah.
really believe that. But
Yeah.
anyway, it'll be interesting to see how this goes. I mean, that petition is gaining steam, so we'll
I
see.
mean, truthfully, I CNN. He's got to be making money for them. So I don't. I'm going to sign the petition just cause, right? But he's making money for CNN. CNN has obviously sold their souls, their journalistic soul, to somebody. I don't know who. So, I mean, as long as he's making the money, Don Lemon is going to be there. So, I guess we just can expect more shenanigans. The real question is who's watching it? And if those people would just turn off the television, then he could go away.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, speaking of people that I actually do respect, Mr. Benjamin Dixon, I want everybody to go check out your show. It's at thebenjamindixonshow.com. Is that correct?
That's it. Yes, it
All
is.
right, and everybody, I want you to go check out his show because it's really, really good. I mean, Ben is very talented, very capable, and I just think he's somebody you should listen to. Well, me, I'm just Dr. Boyce Watkins, and
This
I'm
guy.
from Your Black World, and I'm the guy who's about to go to bed. So, everybody, take care, and until we meet again, please stay strong, be blessed, and be educated. We are gone. Peace.